Call to order.
A roll call.
Roll call.
Bevins?
Here.
March?
Oh, there. I thought you said Mark.
Nope, sorry. March. Nichols?
Here.
And then Campbell and Yadi are both absent.
Get an approval of the agenda.
We approve the agenda.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Public comment. And staff report.
All right, so we're going to talk about the last several months. We haven't met in a while, so I'm going to try to. All of the reports I think are in the packet for you, but we'll hit some highlights here at the start of February, looking backwards. So we just got through some of the bulk of Beat the Bitter. Saturday we had the Snuggie Crawl. Sold out again this year. That's the first time in 3 years we've had that. Last weekend we had Fire and Ice. It was a little chilly, but well attended, and it went very smoothly. The night before, on that Saturday, the 27th, we unveiled the North Liberty Lights over around Liberty Center, which we had set up back in January. The Youth Council continues to meet. We're sort of in a new phase of that. That was something that Micah started working on before she went on leave at the end of October. We had a consultant who sort of helped us get that started. She and I worked through it in November and December, and then in January, I flew solo as support, and it was a new phase wherein they've elected officers, and those folks are leading those meetings and helping set those agendas. So I think we're still growing there, but it's really exciting to have them have built a really solid foundation. They've got some really interesting things that they want to do, and we're really trying to make sure that this is youth led and not adult led. So trying to make sure that they've got the space to make those decisions and identify the projects and the partnerships that make the most sense for them. Even though it's just February now, we are already working on lifeguard recruitment and trying to find a new sort of way to approach it. We're going to do some of the traditional things that we've always done, but we're looking to try to figure out how to empower some of our current lifeguard staff, who is a really good source of referrals for us to help us do some sort of additional marketing by offering some incentives for them if they want to create social media videos on their own to help do some of that outreach for us, and to get that in front of folks who we can't. The Rancher House, we finally ordered furniture. The blinds are in, and we've ordered a bunch of tables and chairs and some couches for that downstairs. So that'll be sort of that second phase. We've still got about $10,000 in the budget for additional things like technology, and there's a lot of little things. It might make sense to have a microwave and maybe a coffee maker if we're asking if those social service agencies are in there and spending any sort of time in there. We've talked with a lot of social service agencies, as you'll recall, over the summer and fall about what they would need to find a space like that useful and what they might use it for. Volunteer recruitment and training is one. Meeting clients that are here in North Liberty, if the agency is mainly based physically in Iowa City, are sort of the two big ones. UAY continues to do weekly hangout with teens, which is great. They've seen a lot of success in that. They've got a core group of kids that are coming, and it's what they really want that engagement up here to be. So we're also talking with them about additional things that they might be interested in doing, like outdoor movies or a Mario Kart tournament projected onto the side of the building when the weather gets a little bit nicer. So that's exciting. They've been really good partners in helping. We've wanted parts of that to feel for the youth to have some input into what that furniture is and what it looks like. They've been great partners in that too. Let's see, going back to January. Again, the City Slate stuff we're in the second full year of City Slate. That's programming. We have 10 sponsors. We limit it to 10 sponsors who sort of sign up to say, like, we know that you guys are going to do quality programming throughout the year. We'd like to support it and attach our name to it. And that funds those programs. We did about 40 different events last year that included things like the Rancho House concert series, that included the Let Love Fly kite event in June, that included the summer send-off, that includes Fire and Ice sort of falls under that. And things of some are a little bit bigger and some are a little bit smaller. We're kicking that off again this year. It'll have some of the same things that we've done in the past that we know work really well, like Remarkable Rigs, where we go out to Centennial Park with big trucks for kids. They love it. But we're also going to try some new things. We're going to try like a watch party later in the fall for a Hawkeye game, and some other things. One of our goals is to not get stuck doing all the same things and the same every year. So we want to make sure that we change it up, and it gives us a chance to experiment, to try some new things.
I think it's good to change it up. I think it's also good to keep the core things because
Yeah.
people look forward to those things.
Yeah, and so Blues and Barbecue is always going to be on there, right? Fire and Ice is always going to be on there. Summer Send Off has been really popular, and that's the thing that we're probably going to figure out how to keep on there. But again, we also want to make sure that we don't back ourselves into a corner where we have a big event that we have to do every year because it's always been that way. So we're just trying to find that right balance for us as we go. But absolutely want to make sure that people know what to look forward to and have that excitement too. It's actually been a pretty light year for snow emergencies, but that's a thing that we always start talking about in the late fall, early winter. We've had really good compliance. Working with Michael, our street superintendent, our goal is always to let folks know well in advance and not do so we don't really do any enforcement on, by ordinance, a snow emergency which bans on-street parking is automatically ineffective if we get 2 inches of snow. We've essentially rescinded that because it just doesn't, it's not helpful. We want people we only do it when we declare it, truly. And we always want to make sure that we give people plenty of heads up. So he and I usually, if there's an impending storm, we sit there and we talk through what's their timing going to look like? What do we expect this storm to have? What kind of time does his team need to get the streets clear? And then we try to be direct and loud with folks so that they're not surprised. And so, because ultimately our goal is for people just to not park on the street. We're not interested in giving tickets. We're not interested in towing. We really just want to plow the snow. So being loud and clear is our best way to do that. And I think we've only declared one so far this season, and it went really well. We noticed we had about half the number of offenders that we oftentimes do in our first snow, which was great. Let's see. I did include in your packet the charter for the youth council if you'd like to see that. That's a thing. It's a big document that lays out their mission and their vision, some of their goals, how they're making decisions, what they want to focus on, and that was led by them. It was facilitated by staff and by Marlene Mendoza, who does this kind of work and is local. But that is in there, and it's really exciting to see their excitement and their energy engage in this.
Yeah, I read through that. It was really impressive.
Yeah.
What they came up
Yeah,
with.
The counselors express frustration and say they feel like they haven't done anything, and I keep pointing back to that and say, like, this took you guys a lot of work to build this foundation, and this is going to serve not just this group well, but it's going to serve future councils well. We may iterate on it, but this took a lot of work just to get there. So don't feel like you haven't done anything.
Right, and then they laid out how if we don't agree,
Yeah.
here's where we go to next.
Yeah.
To talk about that.
Yeah.
It's so impressive.
It took a lot of conversations to get there.
Adult input there, I think, but it's amazing what our youth is, who they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Then just going back a little bit into November, we wrapped up the city slate in there. Had about we had about 45,000 folks engage in city slate programming in 2022. We're really happy with that. And we, were able to expand access to a bunch of programs that used to be paid and made those free, as well as add a bunch of new programming, as well as experiment and try some new things. We were really thrilled to be able to help introduce the mental health liaison. That's a community employee who is working with the North Liberty Police Department as well as Coralville and Johnson County. She's stationed here. So it's really exciting to be able to introduce her to the community and the public. We did hire Tim McCabe, who is behind the reflective glass, who is been with us a month now, and is covering our meetings, and he's feeling good. Micah went on leave and is now back on leave, so healthy baby boy, and we're really excited to have her back so that she can jump back into some of the really important work that she's been doing, like language access, working with the youth council. We're going to have her start working with neighborhood ambassadors, as well as looking at some additional ways to access and promote the work there at the community center in particular. We have already started thinking about Blues and Barbecue and what that's going to look like. It'll be the 15th year of Blues and Barbecue. I think I've been to every single one, and I think there's as I was mentioning to someone I saw the other day, I think there's a dwindling number of people who can say that. So we're trying to figure out how to make the 15th feel particularly special. And I think, our hope is to bring back some fan favorites to the stage, as well as just maybe help talk about some of that history. It's fascinating to think that Blues and Barbecue started as a grand opening for Liberty Center. And it was, they raised a little bit of money, expected a few hundred people to show up, and a lot of folks showed up, and it's been going ever since. It's had it's been a learning experience. It's been years of rain and wind. It's been some beautiful years. It's been in 2016 we started hosting big name headliners and at the top of the ticket, and it's been fun. I've learned a lot, and we're excited to
At the
hit
festival
15.
in the summer, people will come.
Yeah, I don't think it was originally envisioned as a festival. But yes, it's been great. It's been good. So we're excited to work on that. I think those are the big highlights from the last few months. I'm happy to answer any questions you folks might have.
Just pouring through the numbers, statistics on the videos and everything.
Yeah.
It just looks like the trend lines kind of keep following the same pattern that we're used to. Is there, without diving into them completely, is there any concerns that you have there, or?
I don't. I mean, I think that we're Derek and I have been talking a little bit about, for example, like the podcast, and how to best. I think the mix has become a little bit different. We include a lot more nonprofits, at least in the last sort of few episodes. I've encouraged him to. We've been talking about sort of bring some back out of the archive, because those can be fun and give people another taste of ones that we've already done without adding a bunch of new work. A lot of the videos we're doing are meetings, and I think a lot of the media production we're doing is less focused on video and a lot more still photography. That's a lot easier to use in publications and on social media and places like that. So we don't have I don't have a good way to sort of quantify that in the reports. We could certainly give you megabytes of produced, but that doesn't seem particularly helpful. But we know that media production drives social media likes and engagement.
Oh, when you look at the episodes,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the mix that you've put in
Mm-hmm.
there that was just really a good,
Yeah.
well balanced mix of not just all bars and all
Yeah.
restaurants and all.
We try to be thoughtful about making sure that we're touching a range of different businesses too, for sure. And the trick is that at some point it's going to be harder and harder. When you first start, you've got every business that ever existed in North Liberty is fair game, and some folks just they're not interested. So you'll eventually cross those out, and then we struggle to make sure that we're it's a production. So we're just sort of talking about what's the timeline for it, and trying to make sure that we're intentional about how many episodes we think we can produce and where that's at. We're at Derek. We've been producing it now for a number of years. We've just passed. I think we just released the 60th episode yesterday. So we've been doing it for a while now, and just sort of figuring out what the life of it looks like.
So to get a podcast, you do a local business come to the city? And
it's a little bit of both. I mean, sometimes there's no application really. Some folks reach out to us. Sometimes we reach out to them. Sometimes somebody suggests somebody else. So we take them in a variety of ways.
Other questions?
So the email newsletters.
Yeah.
How does that happen? I mean, who creates it and what's included?
Yeah. So the North Liberty Bulletin is a monthly email newsletter. I produce it. The format is pretty straightforward. It has every issue has a few, we call them to-dos. At the top, they're links to actionable things that we think are important for folks to do. They're usually based on recent posts. There is a note from me. It's written in the first person, and it usually talks about something that's going on, or tries to pull together some theme, sometimes funny, sometimes touching, that sort of thing.
I always think they're clever.
Clever. We'll take clever. We always link to the latest episode of the podcast. We always have a video that we call the Ion, and so we talk to. It's usually somebody in the city. It's a chance to go and sort of get a behind the scenes look at something. And then we include a bunch of events that are on our event calendar, just to sort of highlight those. Folks can always sign up for those at northlibertyowa.org/subscribe. You can also get all of our, you can get emailed, agendas emailed to you, as well as our Know Before You Go formatted email newsletter for all of our events, particularly City Slate stuff. That's all available there, as well as the library's newsletter is also there now.
So the top line
Mm-hmm.
that says 7.
Yep, that's
8,
how many.
Is that how many get sent?
That's how many get sent, and then the bottom line is open.
Oh, okay.
So 40% open rate's pretty good.
Yeah.
So it's right around there.
It's
depending.
like 50%.
Yeah. And then below that, you'll see the Know Before You Go emails, and we send those out for every City Slate event. It was a format we developed a few years ago around some rec programming for like haunted happenings, and it's a pretty straightforward format. It's got the basics of when, where, and what time, as well as what you should expect, what you might need to bring. Tries to answer some of those questions, anticipate questions that we know people are going to ask. Can I bring my dog? Are there bathrooms there? During the pandemic, it had a section that called out any COVID precautions, if you need to wear a mask, if it was outside, that kind of thing. But those have been a pretty good driver, we think, for that stuff. And it's based on the format that we use to post those events on the website too.
Great. I don't know if this would be another question right for here. It kind of fits in between there and old
Yeah.
business. It's been a while, but we had started a video series on
Yeah.
um, social justice and
Yeah, that was the first
people with
series. Yeah.
some different perspectives, and I didn't know if that has continued or if
Yeah, we haven't taken another run at it, and I think that's the conversation I need to have with Micah about ideas that we might use to approach that. Um, it was we, it was was talking about a series that we really liked. Denver, Colorado produces a series. I'm sure you've heard me say this. It's called I Am Denver, and they've built a whole. They have a whole unit that goes around and they call them storytelling workshops where you can and they'll do them at your local library. They'll do them at your local social service agency. They'll do them for your neighborhood group or whatever. And it really is a workshop about helping people tell their stories. And from there, they offer to capture those on video. And so they've got a whole collection. And, some folks say, nah, I've written my thing. I'm good. I don't need to. And some folks really do want to do it. We don't have that support piece for what we wanted to do. And so we struggled for that first series, really getting people. It's tough. You're asking people to be vulnerable and talking about something that's a tough thing to talk about on camera and to publish it in a place that uh, people might be mean. People are mean on the internet. So I think we never really cracked that to figure out how to do that better, or how to invite people in a way. We've continued to engage the folks that we did actually who did come and do those pieces with us. And I think that we need to revisit how to approach that so that it's not us going and asking people to tell us their stories, but that people want to tell us the stories. Because I think there's a really important difference between the way in which that story sort of comes out.
sure.
Yeah, it's a
And
pretty wide subject.
yeah,
Yeah.
and how it's presented and
Yeah.
who sees it and
Yeah.
everything too. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just curious because we hadn't
Yeah.
touched on it and
Yeah.
everything for a while. But
Yeah. I think it's a good question. I appreciate you. I was thinking about it the other day too, and I appreciate you bringing it up. I don't have a good answer for you. We haven't re-engaged in that.
sounds good. Well, yeah, we can always continue to discuss if it's necessary or not. But
Sure.
yeah, just more of a curiosity at this
Yeah.
point.
Fair.
Any other old business?
What about the channel? We had some discussion in the
Yeah.
past about the cable channel, the North Liberty owned cable channel. Has anything moved or changed?
No, I mean, we're mostly in stasis, right? So I do need to bring back to you folks a policy. I think what we talked about was winding that down, acknowledging that wasn't providing a lot of value, and just talking about an intentional plan for how to do that. We haven't done that yet. I think our timeline would be based on us moving the department moving to City Hall. The new City Hall is being built, because our intent is not to move all of that equipment with us, and that move will also complicate cable casting.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, probably don't need to continue to discuss it until we get really close to the date. Do you think? Or
I think we're in a good place where I just need to have lay out a plan.
got it. Any new business?
I did just want to flag that we've been asked by council and by administration to start discussing renaming the department as an acknowledgement. So when I first started with the city, we were still the telecommunications department. We really were focused on a cable channel. And after a few years, we transitioned to communications. We dropped the tele part to really focus on helping tell the community story. And and as we've talked with the city administrator and with council, I think there's an acknowledgement that name too is more limiting than what all we do. And so we're talking about that and what that means for the department, and how to and what that would look like. So a little bit of internal restructuring.
My 20-something-year-old child thinks the communications department is just ratting people out in the city of bad things they're doing. So he has no idea what we do.
Yeah.
So that it might be misleading to that group at least.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And when somebody asks me, well, what do you do? I say, well, I do communications for the city of North Liberty. And they go, so is that like, what does that mean? Does that mean like is that like IT?
Yeah, it's a big umbrella, and we could narrow the vision a little bit.
Especially with the amount of event planning and things that come along with it. Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think about outreach and I think about engagement and I think about right the work that Mike is doing doesn't neatly fit into communications as a task either.
Well, it's just assisting in the ambassador program, I think.
Yeah.
It's a big part of
Yeah.
who we are, I thought, but achieving that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think yes, I think so, and I think that the engagement we get from those folks is really helpful, both for the city, sort of in its relationship with the community, as well as sort of helping our direction as a department.
Yeah, and I think that's been something that corporate entities have been doing for a while too, renaming departments and kind of modernizing and letting people know really, really what you do instead of squeezing you into an old folder. Yeah. Any other new business? All right. We have a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned.
Thank you all.